What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. All right, so we can see here that the Blue Beetle is indeed going to be the box office failure that we said it was going to be after its opening weekend. This tweet by the Hollywood Handle essentially says Blue Beetle is expected to end its theatrical run somewhere between $140 and $170 million globally. It carried a $104 million budget. Now, initially, I saw the number as $120 million, and now they're saying, well, it's only $104 million. Either way, it's going to be a box office flop because you guys understand how this works. In order to make your money back, you have to double your spend. Whatever you spent on the film, all right, that includes the budget for making the film along with the marketing, all right? So if we said $104 million was spent, and let's say this film only had about $50 million, $60 million, somewhere in that range for marketing. It had to, okay? Because that would generally be what Hollywood would spend, at least half the budget for the marketing, all right? So you're looking at a total of $150 million roughly was spent on this film. 150 to 160, 150 to 160, somewhere in there. That means you got to double that. That means it needs somewhere between $300 to $320 million, okay? If we were to go off of those numbers, all right? $170 million is not going to get close to that, all right? So we're talking about a film that's going to lose more than $100 million. Now, why is this happening? We've already discussed this at length in regards to DC films. DC just doesn't have their act together. James Gunn, he just hung these films out to dry, all right, in 2023. And look, I went to see The Blue Beetle. It is not a terrible movie, all right? It's not a terrible movie. I feel the same way about the Blue Beetle that I felt about Shazam. The box office is not indicative of the quality of the film. All right. Shazam is a better movie than the $133 million in the box office or whatever it got, okay? It was a hell of a lot better than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That's my personal opinion. And I think the Blue Beetle is the same way, all right? It's actually a decent movie. I would probably give it somewhere between a 5 and a 6 out of 10. It's a decent film. However, DC, okay? And what's the problem with DC? Yeah, you see, the Hollywood Reporter is asking the question, where have all the DC fans gone? And to that, I say, well, we're here, okay? The DC fans ain't gone nowhere. Where have the good DC movies gone? That's the question, all right? Y'all expect DC fans just to show up? We want good films. That's the bottom line. Now, listen, I'm one of these cats. I go out and I support. All right. But not every DC fan thinks like me. You know, I went and saw Black Adam 3 times to make sure that I lent my support to the return of Henry Cavill because that was very important to my DC fandom. All right. A lot of other DC fans, they didn't see it the same way. So Black Adam bombed, Henry Cavill's gone. You know, I've already made my comments in regards to that. But the DC fans, they want quality films, all right? And they haven't gotten them in spades like they have with the MCU. The MCU has put out good quality films. They built a very solid film universe. So it's not about where the DC fans have gone. And let's be real. It's really not even about DC fans. It's just about general fans, all right? And they kind of mention that right here. Warner Brothers has more to do to make fans believe a man can fly. It has to make them believe that this time there is a willingness to see that flight to its destination. Yeah, it's about just regular run-of-the-mill general audience, okay? That's who it is. Look, the DC fans know what DC is. All right. DC has the best characters. DC has the best storylines. In my opinion, I think that the DC storylines blow Marvel storylines away. So why are we sitting here with bad films that don't really connect to anything? It's like you guys have a blueprint right there at your fingertips to just go out there and do the shit. And look, I understand why, because you got these directors. These directors want to put their own stamp, okay? It's like that's what a creative person wants to do. They want to put their own stamp on it, all right? I completely understand that. But the guys that have been involved in the DCEU, in my opinion, outside of Zack Snyder, none of them had a vision of what it is that they wanted to do. They just wanted to make movies with these characters. Instead of actually saying, hey, how do we put together a storyline and an event that people can look forward to, you know? At least Zack Snyder had that kind of a vision where he's like, hey, I got something that I want to do. This is how I see this thing flowing all the way out, you know? And all you got to do is just get one guy, maybe it's James Gunn, I don't know, but somebody to say, hey, how do we take these storylines that have already worked for decades and just adapt them and put them on screen? That's what DC fans want, you know? Somebody figure out a way to put Kingdom Come out there, live action, okay? All-Star Superman, live action. Okay? Hey, what's so hard about that? The Judas contract, live action. I've been begging for the Teen Titans to get in here. You know, it's like nobody wants to do all of that's this cartoon and kid stuff. No. Live action. You can do Green Lantern Corps, okay? What's the name? The Blackest Night or Sinestro. Like, there's storylines there that you can work with. All you gotta do is just find one guy, just one dude to figure that shit out, put that shit together, and let's go. So yeah, the DC fans, we ain't gone nowhere. We right here, baby. We waiting for good content, all right? And look, this article really jumps into the part that kind of set me off, all right, when it comes to this particular topic. Like, read this. While the MCU has been able to create a fairly unified fan base, though not without its own share of sycophants and antagonists, nobody really has a strong idea of what DC fans want or who the fans really are. Bullshit! We know exactly what DC fans want. They want good storylines. I just rattled off a few of them. All right? This is not hard. The thing about it is they're trying to figure out, they're trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to the DC universe, when it comes to the cinematic universe. Marvel did it. All right? So just, hey, you know what, Marvel? Y'all was the first in, best dressed. All right, we understand that. All right, we're going to come right behind it. We're going to have our characters, which trump your characters, in my opinion. You know, DC characters are better than Marvel characters. All right? And we're going to trump your characters with our better storylines, the whole 9 yards. We're going to come in here and we're going to wipe the floor with you. That's all they had to do. A lot of people felt like Zack Snyder kind of, forced it. He kind of, did the speed run on the cinematic universe. All right, I can understand that because he didn't start off with, hey, we're going to do a Batman movie, a Superman movie, a Wonder Woman movie, boom, 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 and then we're going to get to Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice with Wonder Woman, and then we're going to get to the Justice League. Okay, I can understand that, He kind of threw the Trinity together in the first or the second film. Really didn't get any backstory or anything like that. Okay, I get that. But nevertheless, we know who we are and we know what we want, all right? It's like who the fans are. We know exactly who the fans are, man. This is ridiculous. At the moment, it doesn't feel possible for DC to have a celebratory DCU Hall H panel at San Diego Comic-Con. Certainly not one without a plane flying over the city with a banner proclaiming sales DSJL to Netflix, the latest hashtag campaign. Why? Again, let me explain this to you, okay? Let me explain this to you real slow, Hollywood Reporter. It's because Zack Snyder, for whatever you want to say about him, the man had an absolute vision of what it is that he wanted to do with the DCEU, okay? He had a vision. We saw the vision, all right? It may have looked kind of, whoa, what's going on here? All right, but you can see the through line, all right? Going from, the Man of Steel all the way through the Dark Side, all right? With Justice League, possibly Justice League 2, which is what I was expecting. All right, we saw the through line going through this thing. So that's why people are like, hey, we want to see the end of the vision, all right? All of these other cats that was out here making films, they were just making movies, okay? They're just making random movies, all right? This is every DCEU movie, all right? You can see there's 15 of them in total. 16 is going to be Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. But yeah, it's just random movies, all right? With the exception of like the first 5 minus the Suicide Squad. I don't really think the Suicide Squad had anything to do with the rest of them, all right? But yeah, I mean, just just movies, all right? Just movies. They happen to share a universe. They're all in the same universe, but there's no vision for any of this. There's no story going through, all right? It's something I always talk about when it comes to Star Wars or to even with Marvel, okay? Kevin Feige, as much shit as I give Kevin Feige, at least the man had a vision of what it is that he wanted to do, all right? And the only guy that had a vision here is Zack Snyder. Everybody else, all of this other stuff, all right? They're just making films. All right. Oh, I forgot Zack Snyder's Justice League is down there, but that's not really even a separate film. It's just this film's real version, all right? But yeah, Wonder Woman 1984, how did that coincide at all with Black Adam or with Aquaman? It didn't, all right? Just again, random movies just thrown out there. Okay, some of these characters will make cameos, all right? They'll just make cameos, they'll pop up, but they're really not a part of any ongoing story, and that's the problem. So that's what DC didn't give us. So when you ask, hey, where are the DC fans at? How come the DC fans, they're not a fairly unified fan base? And I'm glad they actually said this, is that the MCU created the fan base, all right? While the MCU has been able to create a fan base, like I said, to say that nobody knows what DC fans want, that is utter shit. We absolutely know what DC fans want. They wanted the same thing that the MCU gave, but with DC and in a better version. DC is a little bit more adult, a little bit more mature, all right? Marvel's for the kids, DC's for the adults. All right, we understand that. So give us what we want. Now, look, they go on and they say what I've been saying, all right, that it's brand damage right here. On the one hand, you can look at the poor turnout of the past year of DCEU films as a lack of faith in the brand from general audiences and fans, to the point where even the good movies like Blue Beetle are getting brushed off. Again, we can always catch this, okay, on streaming. HBO Max will have it out in a couple of months, believe that, all right? This thing gonna be on HBO Max in a couple of months, no questions about it, all right? But if you want us to show up in a theater, it's gotta be an event, all right? For me to plunk down 15, 20 bucks for one ticket to go see this thing, it's gotta be an event. It's gotta be something that me and my homies have been talking about for the past 6 months, all right? And all the lead up has been built up. The excitement is boiling. Oh my God, I can't wait till this thing goes. When the tickets go on sale, it's gotta be like that. It can't just be some run in the middle. Oh, it's just another movie, all right? There's all kind of movies that come out in theaters every weekend. Why would I go and take my time to see this? Because it's a DC film? Look, the era of comic book movies being a thing, all right, the excitement, the newness of that's over, all right? If this was back in the 90s, you might have had an argument, or even the early 2000s. You might have had an argument. It's like, hey, man, you know, we made a comic book film. You guys have been begging for comic book films for, you know, forever and a day. How come you're not watching this? Well, that's because comic book films back then were rare. Now you get about 8 of them a year. It's like, this is not new anymore. So you got to come with the goods, okay? And that's Warner Brothers' challenge, and that's James Gunn's challenge. All right, he's got to deliver the goods in an era where people have pretty much brushed off everything related to DC because of the damage that's been done to the brand. And again, it has nothing to do with the fans. Where are the fans? Where have the fans gone? Don't put this on the fans. We have showed up. But at the end of the day, look, we'll catch it on HBO Max. We don't have to pay money to go and see this. All right? If you don't give us something like an actual event that we could go and check out, and again, you got catalogs upon catalogs of content of good storylines with characters. It's already laid out for you. Just go do the shit. Stop playing around with us, all right? Anyway, I'm done off of my rant. I was kind of fired up after reading this article. You guys let me know what you think. Jump down in the comments. Give me your thoughts and opinions on that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.